Let's talk to Tom Packer, fellow of the UCL Centre for US Politics. Tom, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Mike.
That was quite a moment watching that speech. I was almost getting tears in my eyes as Donald Trump, I think partly himself, couldn't quite believe the margin that he seems to be winning by.
Yeah, it's certainly he's like. I mean, it reminds me a tiny bit of 2016 when he was a bit humbled in the moment, was very gracious and conciliatory. You know, in a sense, he doesn't always get credit for this, but he has elements of being a good winner, at least initially.
Yeah, right.
Having said that, he's made a lot of promises. Is he going to be able to fulfill them? I'd be very surprised if he fulfills all of them. It'll be interesting how many he does fulfill.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, it looks like he's going to have the Senate, and he's going to have control of that, which is a good start. And it's up for grabs, I think, whether he keeps the House of Representatives. But if he does, and if he has both houses, then he's going to be able to keep all his promises.
I mean, I think he'll keep the House. That it does still seem a bit more open. It also matters the margin. So, for example, 2 of the Republicans in the Senate are very moderate, so he won't necessarily rely on them. I don't think that necessarily means he'll keep all his promises, though. Like, I wouldn't assume all the Republicans are going to go along with his agenda, like the way we used to, at least before Liz Truss in Britain. It's just not necessarily the way it works in the United States. And also, there are just deep tensions. Like, is he going to be able to get inflation down while imposing lots of tariffs? Is he going to be able to make America look strong while ending support in Ukraine? You know, there's a lot of tension. Is he going to be able to reduce the deficit while cutting taxes and supposedly spending more on various things? Like, he's got a difficult job ahead of him, but obviously this result puts him in a very strong position, and it's a remarkable achievement. And I think, you know, the Democrats have some stuff to learn, that Trump has personal unpopularity, but on issues such as immigration and the economy and spending, they got out of touch with the median voter, and they thought Trump's problems about January the 6th and pushing very hard on abortion would be the secret to defeating him. And I think they overrated the popularity of that.
But they've also been trying to demonise Donald Trump ever since he was in the White House, basically. And you know, they've picked on him. They've tried to impeach him. The American sort of political system. They've tried to impeach him more than once and failed. They've tried to indict him in many sort of counts. At one point, he was facing 5 different lawsuits. I'm not sure what happens to some of those now, because some of them remain sort of unfinished, if you like. You know, will the president have to turn up in various courtrooms again for something that happened 4 years ago? That would be a backward step, it seems to me, for me. But clearly what happened at the end of the campaign, towards the end of the campaign, when the Democrats started really demonising him and calling him Hitler, talking about him being a fascist, saying that this will be the last election ever if he gets elected. I mean, we had a guy on just on the overnight show talking about how Trump wants to build concentration camps, you know, for migrants in America. I mean, just crazy off-the-wall stuff. And clearly the Americans didn't buy it.
I think there's a lot in that. I mean, I think there was some evidence of a late swing to Harris. I think one would be careful to, you know, whenever you win, everything you did was brilliant. Whenever you lose, everything you did was stupid. Like, I think there was some evidence.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that was stupid.
Yeah, I think there's some evidence later on. And actually, if you look at the polling, like, what's it, 65% of Americans, I think it might be more, think America was on the wrong track.
Yeah.
And he's probably won like 51%, 52%. It's just, he might not even have won the popular vote. I think he probably has, but it's not completely certain. I think part of that was lots of people's deep fear about Trump and his huge worries. I was on a show, different media company earlier, and my fellow expert was very worried he's going to go after all his enemies. And I worry there's going to be this sort of escalatory thing where there are often quite unfair attacks on Trump. He makes unfair attacks on his enemies. And
yeah, but isn't it interesting that people from the Democratic side always say that? The only people that seem to go after their enemies are the Democrats. I mean, they went after Trump big time after he lost in 2020.
I mean, I think some of the attention on Hunter Biden and so forth has caused issues. But yeah, I think there's perhaps...
Well, the Hunter Biden story was buried by the media. The Hunter Biden story was only published by the New York Post. I mean, let's face it.
Was bang to right, but it wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been massive media and congressional attention, as in most people who use drugs and own a gun in the US don't get prosecuted. So I do think I think you do have a valid point that. And sometimes some of these issues, like the paper stuff, I think Trump is more open than some of the other stuff he's been prosecuted for, like lobbying on elections. And I do hope there's a way America breaks out of this escalatory cycle of people starting to prosecute each other, which could lead to a very dark place.
But this is the point. I mean, the people that I've seen prosecuting people on political grounds, probably just alone, are the Democrats going after Trump. I haven't seen Trump going after anybody else with the law that they did.
I think he's used language of doing it. I would accept. I think this partly represents like he's often failing to control his own administration, but it's probably actually happened more on the other side. But that doesn't necessarily stay that way. The general rule is these things start escalating. So I do think there's a huge fear and negativity about Trump, but.
Well, not this morning there isn't. I mean, you're the only person that's saying that, because the people listening to this show, watching it, have got a huge wave of positivity. They're watching his speech and they're saying, this is brilliant. This is what we need. The world needs Donald Trump. That's what they want. They don't want negativity.
I think the speech was very much Trump at his best. But I think the fact is, you know, if 60% think the government's terrible or think the government's on the wrong track, and you get 51%, that shows there's a lot of opposition to you. And lots of that's issue-based, like people trying to...
Yeah, but you will say that, but, I mean, most people won't even understand what that means. So, I mean, the bottom line is that Trump has won a remarkable historic victory. He's got a political comeback that hasn't been done since Grover Cleveland, you know, and I think it's quite remarkable.
100%. It's a massive victory, but that means there's like 10% of Americans who don't like what's going on, but still couldn't bring...
Well, there's 80% of Britons that didn't vote for Keir Starmer, you know.
Well, 80%, no, sorry, 80% of, that's 80% of Britons, not 80% of Britons who voted, and lots of them voted for parties that are very similar to Starmer. Almost everyone's voted Republican and Democratic, and I think you need to be careful about saying the Republicans are one of the most overwhelming victory when they've got 3%.
I didn't say that.
A big victory. It's a big victory. There's a heck of a lot of support for the Democrats. They could easily make a comeback, just like the Republicans did under Biden. I think, you know, Donald Trump has really pulled off. It's indeed the thing Grover Cleveland did, but Grover Cleveland was very unpopular, was replaced by a Republican. He was a Democrat when he lost. So I'm just trying to be a bit of a kind of caution that Trump's not...
No, I don't think today's the day for caution at all. I think you got it completely wrong. That's why you're sitting there and I'm sitting here. You know, the bottom line is, you know, this is a fantastic achievement by Donald Trump. People in this country, I've never seen people in this country as galvanised about an American election, because...
Yeah, on both sides, I'd say.
You know, they absolutely love it.
It was absolutely massive achievement. There were a lot of... I mean, the polls suggest most British people, possibly because they tend to be the views of most British media, are quite anti-Trump. There's certainly a lot who are pro as well. But the fact is, it's a very impressive achievement to make a comeback, to win the primary, to come back from January the 6th. But he does also a lot of negativity, which could easily come back from him. And he's got very difficult business trying to achieve that. But I do accept your sort of general point that, you know, we should, you know, when people win democratic elections, you should give them a day to celebrate. It's a big achievement. He and the Republican Party have done very well, and they're in a powerful position to reshape America. Are they're going to be able to keep the Donald Trump tax cuts? Are they going to be able to reduce spending? What's going to be the policy on tariff? Is he going to make America strong again? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to make it better than it was, because it was really losing the plot. But listen, Tom, thanks very much indeed. Tom Packer, fellow of UCL Centre for US Politics.